And back here at our Fox Sports Midwest live studio at Ballpark Village, Andy Strickland joins Bernie and myself, and we're talking the trade deadline tomorrow afternoon at 2. Some deals already underway and have happened, and it makes, I think, Blues fans a little apprehensive about what's going on with the Blues.
Well, exactly, and I think the sense that I get from the organization and talking to people inside the organization is they're not going to do something that requires an A asset or to give up something that they don't want to have to give up to mortgage the future for now. I think they're going to be very smart about it. And again, Doug Armstrong went on a limb last year. He, traded a first-round pick. They brought in a goaltender. So I think the method or the approach for this year, Bernie, I think is a little bit different than maybe what we've seen in the past.
Well, this is a team that I think is built, I think the window is probably 3 or 4 years with the talent they have on this team. So there's no sense, as Alexander Steen said, they're a tight-knit bunch right now. So you don't want to really kind of go and blow it all up. If you can add something without giving up too much, I think, yes, you want to get better. You're seeing the other teams doing that already, but certainly I don't think you want to blow things up right now.
Right, and not that these teams blew things up, but they certainly have given up something to get something, Andy.
Well, absolutely. I mean, Antoine Vermette, probably the most, high-profile player that was available throughout the entire trade deadline, and Chicago makes the move. They also made a move for a defenseman, bringing Kimmo Timonen on board. The Arizona Coyotes, everyone knew they'd be very active. We talked about Vermette. They also moved, Keith Yandel, who still has some term left on his contract, but again, they're very, very active, and they want to set things up for the future. The Washington Capitals, they moved Curtis Glencross. Calgary does. Washington gets some size, obviously, with Glencross. He's a guy who has some experience, and Calgary also, on the outside looking in, continues to be a little bit busy here.
Yeah, I'm not surprised Calgary doing it, especially with Giordano being hurt now. I think that they're thinking that maybe they should move some because things don't look good for them right now with Giordano out.
There still are some players that could be moved before the deadline.
Well, there really are when you think about it. I mean, there's a lot of players out there, probably with every team in the National Hockey League, but here's a couple. Jeff Petrie, obviously a guy who has been talked about for quite some time. He's going to be a UFA after this year, so certainly could help a number of teams. Detroit's been rumored to be interested in Petrie, also Montreal. You think about Zbigniew Michalek. Now, here's a guy who's out right now. He's got an upper body injury. Most people believe it to be a concussion, but he's a guy who plays a real hard game between the whistles, 12th in the National Hockey League in block shots. Also can certainly, be a guy who can be counted on down the stretch, has some experience. Chris Stewart certainly is another guy who we're very familiar with. And then Marek Zidlicki is a guy who's 38 years of age, Bernie. He has some experience, went to the Cup Finals with New Jersey just a couple of seasons ago.
3 defensemen, and I think if the Blues were going to do something, I would think because of the injury still to Shattenkirk and not sure when he's going to be back and how healthy he's going to be, I think that maybe Doug Armstrong could pull a trigger that. And you know what? I like Chris Stewart. It'd be great to get him back. And we talked about it before. He played with Paul Stastny a few years ago in Colorado, and they played outstanding together. So who knows?
Yeah, the Boston Bruins apparently very high on Chris Stewart. They're waiting for his GM to return a phone call and make that deal happen.
We'll see about that. Now, some guys that are less likely to be moved because of their situations, but guys worth noting anyway.
Well, there certainly are. I mean, there's a lot of guys, like I mentioned, who could get moved. You think about rosters like the Toronto Maple Leafs. You think about the New Jersey Devils. Those two teams have a number of players that could get moved. And Roman Polak is a guy who, of course, we know very well here in St. Louis. Still has another year left on his contract. We'll see if that happens. James Wisniewski, $5.5 million. Going to be tough to move that contract. 2 years left on his deal after this year. Scott Gomez, a lot of people out there saying, why is his name on the list? Hey, this guy's been producing some offense as of late, and a guy who doesn't make a lot of money. I think $550,000, you never know. He's got some playoff experience, also very good in the shootouts. And then you think about Dion Phaneuf, the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. A tough contract to move. Yeah. Phil Kessel, Dion Phaneuf. They probably will get moved at some point, Bernie, but probably not till the summer.
Yeah, Brendan Shanahan is, I think, going to blow up that team. I mean, the Leafs have got to start over and somehow find a way to get out of the hole that they're in. But I don't expect a lot of things to happen with those 4 names there. I think that those are, at best, a very small percentage of having that moved until you said as the summer would go on.
More likely for names like that, certainly. Andy, thank you very much, and you'll be busy over the next 20 hours or so.
Get some sleep.
Yeah, exactly. We'll continue here with Blues Live, getting you set for the Blues and the Canucks. A view from the booth next.